All right, Jenny Simpson here in Boston, 2 days out from the Boston Marathon. I feel like I've seen you in Boston for many things over the years, but never a marathon.
It is strange when I'm like going by like the athlete hospitality. I'm like, oh, like I'm one of those athletes this time.
I was curious, like you've run obviously at the highest level, Olympics, World Championships. Boston has a prestige around it in history. I'm curious, just like the difference in the experience so far going into the event as an athlete compared to other races you've done.
It's its whole own, like it has its own gravity, right? Like Boston draws people as its own event and its own thing that transcends running, right? And then the history and the moments that have been made here, people that aren't even runners know about it. And so to be able to come and be like in that slipstream of historic running and just kind of feel like I get to be a part of it to some degree, it just feels really special. And particularly too, because I got this experience on the heels of the trials, which didn't go well for me, right? And so to think like, oh, like that was such a disappointment, but then to have it turn into kind of an opportunity to be here, that I feel really privileged.
I think you're about, it's almost 3 years removed from like your last 1500.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah, 2021. That's right. Yep.
What's that like to think about? I guess like thinking about the 1500 you had done for so long. I have to imagine you're like dialed into understanding tactics and pace and when to make moves and all these things, and now
no, exactly. I knew every single heartbeat from the training run all the way up to the finish line, and so I just had everything so dialed in and knew what it should feel like. In a way that also like helped me understand that it was probably time for me to start thinking about either moving up in distance or doing something different, because when I know to such a degree what it takes to be good at that, then you kind of start to see when it's hard for you to kind of get up to that level year after year. And plus, like, it was just a lot of pressure and it was really long and I did it really well for 12 years and I kind of needed a new adventure. But as I'm now doing the training and the racing of, the half marathon and the marathon, it is really more uncomfortable than I expected to really not know how it's supposed to feel along the way.
Yeah. I mean, like, because it takes repetition and it's hard to get reps in a marathon.
And experience. Yeah. I thought a lot of the experience would translate, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're good at this, you'll know what to do. And that's not like entirely true. Like, I thought like, oh, I'll get the hang of this. I've done a lot of long runs and I've done a lot of, really hard things. And I'm not worried about like being able to mentally get through 2.5 hours. But just physically, how am I supposed to feel at mile 5 when you've got 21 to go? Like, I don't know that yet. And the trials kind of showed like I haven't quite figured it out yet. So I have the training part a little bit more figured out. I think I'm ready, but then the execution I'm still kind of figuring out. But all that to say that what I learned from the trials, I think I really applied in New York, and New York went really well. So I'm putting it together.
We see runners move up, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of went 1500 to marathon, it felt like, right?
Yeah.
And so like, you dabbled in some 5Ks and obviously
there
was a steeple
but I
chase
never
history,
committed
but
to
like,
it.
Yeah. So like, just curious, like, what caused you to just go cold turkey? I guess you say straight.
I know. I made a big break. On it, I mean, there's a lot of things. There were a lot of things I was considering and thinking. It's not a mistake that it was also kind of around COVID time where everybody was rethinking, like, what do I want to do with my life now that I'm finally still for a minute? And I really had this sense that, like, if the 1500 could give me, and my success in that event, if it could give me one final gift, it would be kind of accepting the freedom to do what I want to do. I could talk a really long time about this, but I'll keep it brief. The 1500, like, it has an arc to a season. It has like a plan to the season where you start, you get ready for U.S. championships, you do the Diamond League, you do the World Championships, you run Fifth Avenue Mile, you take a break. And the break is like not that long because then you come back and I usually ran 1 or 2 indoor races and then you start the cycle again. And it was very rigid, and in a way that I really succeeded in that rigidity. But I thought, man, if all that rigidity could lead to like me taking freedom and saying, what do I really want to do next? I just felt like I didn't have to do like what was expected. And so the marathon has really been like a passion project for me. I don't know that I'm going to be great at it. I think I can be great at it. But it's just something that I thought if I look back on my career, I don't want to regret not trying the marathon.
And you referenced Orlando, the trials.
Yeah.
Obviously not one of the first races I think you haven't finished.
Yeah.
What is, like, how do you come into this thinking about goals and what you want to accomplish?
I think it was really important for me to not toe the line with 26.2 miles ahead of me with a race like the trials where I dropped out being the most recent experience. Because, so New York was between these two, right? So I ran the New York City half, and I stood on the starting line that morning, and I thought, oh, I just don't want to have to quit. I don't want to have to quit. I don't want to have to drop out. And I've never worried about that in my life. I wasn't even worried about that on the day of the trials, and so that was a really important psychological barrier for me to get over. But I got through 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles, and by the time we turned up to go towards the park in New York, I just thought, I love this, and I'm good at it, And so when I started really racing and picking it up the last 3 miles, I just really felt like myself again. I'm so grateful. I'm going to take that feeling and that experience and really expect that on Monday. I think I learned from some little mistakes here or there, kind of leading into the trials, and also It's the Boston Marathon, but it's not the same pressure of the trials. It's not top 3 or bust, top 3 or it's not a success. And so I'm going to carry that into Boston too.
You're probably one of the most competitive people I've known over the years. And
what, me?
Yeah, so I'm just I'm thinking about you on a starting line regardless of the race.
Yeah.
You want to finish. You want to do well.
Yeah.
You've had so many years where you want to win. So how do you approach these races now and kind of temper your own expectations around what you want out of a race like this?
I think that's been something I've not been good at. I haven't been good at that. I haven't been good at thinking, come off the idea of how you are relative to other people and you need to beat your training. As long as I can just get out there and say whatever I train at, just do 1% more than that, just barely beat that. Because that's kind of how I thought about the 15. If I go out and I can rip 64s all day long, then I hope I can run 358, right? And so that's the type of mentality I think I need to get to. The trouble is that for so many years, 358 could win a lot of stuff. And now probably where I'm at in the marathon, I'm far enough away, obviously, from being able to win the trials or win the majors or any of that kind of stuff, obviously, that I have to take that part out of the equation and think about how I'm racing relative to my training. So it's hard to because I am competitive. But I also don't stand on the starting line and think I want a miracle to happen. I know what my training is. I know what I should be doing. I have great coaches. I just need to do a good job of over the course of 2 hours really listening to them.
2 hours, I like that.
Just kidding. Well, I get to kind of break open and do my own thing if I've done the right thing for the first 2 hours.
In terms of Boston, it's known sometimes as a tougher course, right?
Yeah.
Had years where they've run extremely fast, but I think about you in Boulder and Colorado, the Mags days, all these things, and how does this kind of course fit to your background and training?
I don't know the course well, but a lot of people who have run it and people who have won it know the course and have told me they think I can be great at it. For me, where I am in my training. And so I'm trusting them. I don't know what it's like to prepare for a marathon and think, am I better at the time trial type really fast courses, or am I better at the hillier, tougher, racer type courses? Because I just haven't done it, so I just don't know. But I do think 18 years of running Gold Hill and Mags and Neva Road and all these places out in Boulder, it just has to be good for somebody headed to, a 16-mile race towards hills and then a 10K downhill. It just has to be helpful.
A lot of experience through that.
Yeah.
After this week, is there another marathon? You said when you're saying New York.
Oh, yeah. So that's another funny thing is that when I was talking about the rigidity of the track schedule and just kind of knowing what's coming. I mean, 2 years in advance where you hope to be, on a certain day at a World Championships or at a U.S. Championships or something, or a Diamond League or whatever. This is also new. Like, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing after Boston. I didn't know I was going to be here.
Trials, track trials, you won't be preparing for? Is that, or is there any?
Well, I mean, I'm probably, I'm not coming off a Boston Marathon and running the track trials. I hadn't really thought about that, but it'll be the first one I don't prepare for. But you know what? I got so many amazing years on the track. You can't do it forever. You can't do it forever. I miss it. I see it. I wish I could still be the athlete out there, but I'm not like heartbroken, because I got more than almost anyone else in pro sports and in track and field, right? Like, you're so freaking lucky if you get to have a couple year run at that level. I got more than a decade. So, I watch it and I just think those athletes are they're so lucky, because I know how great it is. Like, that's how I feel.
You get sit back and kind of look at the next generation that you probably inspired in many ways.
Yeah, now I mean, occasionally I get to be the obnoxious old person that's like, when I ran this and that, and it was like, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm trying to gracefully transition into that person.
Nice. Well, we're excited to see you here in Boston. Excited to see you on the starting line on Monday, and hope you enjoy it. It's a fun one is an understatement.
It's going to be a wild challenge. I'm really excited for it, and I'm doing this one differently than any other race, right? Like, I've only had 9 weeks to get ready, and I feel ready. I feel ready for it, and I feel excited for it. And you can't be here and not have like Boston energy. So I hope that gives me a lift on Monday.
Good luck out there.
Thanks,
you.